Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda, and I bring you important news as it pertains to the country, the economy, as well as our money. So, what is happening, folks? The White House is laying down the groundwork, the framework for what is going to be a very disappointing January jobs report. At the time I'm recording this video, that January jobs report has not been released yet, but the spike in Omicron could actually result in really bad numbers for January. Welcome again to our channel, everyone. If you're not a subscriber yet, please consider clicking like and clicking subscribe. Here's the headline of an article on your screen from Fox Business. White House warns that the Omicron spike could skew the January jobs report. In fact, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki said that the January jobs report could show employment losses. So what is the Biden administration doing? The Biden administration is laying down the groundwork for a disappointing job growth scenario in the month of January. And they're actually warning that an Omicron-fueled surge in COVID cases could have distorted hiring and could have sidelined millions of workers. In fact, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki told reporters that because the Labor Department report only includes data from the first half of the month, it could have a large impact on the main jobs figure, including the possibility of negative growth. So, folks, you come to this channel, the Ignition Time channel, to get the latest news pertaining to the country, the economy, as well as our money. And it's quite possible that a bad January jobs report, because of a surge in Omicron cases, could actually reveal that more people lost their jobs and there was more unemployment, not less, but more unemployment in January. In fact, the economy has not lost jobs since December 2020, and that was right before the vaccine was made available. But we could have a situation where there were actually jobs lost in January 2021. Here's what Jen Psaki told reporters. Because Omicron was so highly transmissible, nearly 9 million people called out sick in early January when the jobs data was being collected. The week the survey was taken was at the height of the Omicron spike. As a result, the jobs report may show job losses in large part because workers were out sick from Omicron at a point when it was peaking. So what is the survey reference period? Folks, the survey reference week was between the 9th of January and the 15th of January, precisely when Omicron cases peaked. And the highest 7-day average count actually occurred on January 15th, according to the CDC. So hourly employees who were sick and had to stay home that week without paid sick leave will actually be counted as unemployed even though they were not laid off. So this means that the actual unemployed numbers in the January jobs report will be disproportionately higher. In fact, a census survey showed that an estimated 8.75 million Americans said they were not working in early January, either because they were infected with COVID or taking care of someone else who had contracted the virus. That's a huge jump from December, when that number was only 2.96 million people. Think about this for a second. In December of 2021, 2.96 million Americans, almost 3 million Americans, said they could not work because of the pandemic. Either they had COVID or they were taking care of someone with COVID. But in January of 2022, that number jumped from 2.96 million to a whopping 8.75 million. That is a huge jump, and that's directly related to COVID. So a lot of economists expect the US economy to have added 153,000 jobs in January, which, by the way, is still going to be pretty weak, but it's quite possible that the number could be much worse and there could actually be more people unemployed. In fact, here's a quote from the National Economic Council Director Brian Deese. He said this to CNBC. If you think about Omicron in early January and the impact it was having in terms of the number of people who are out sick, we do expect there to be some real variation in the data. So it's very clear that the White House is trying to create the framework, the groundwork, if you will, for a very disappointing jobs report. In fact, there's been a lot of unease in Washington, D.C. over a significant increase in cases directly tied to Omicron. Now, we don't know for sure whether Omicron will derail the economy, but it does seem that Omicron will result in a very, very bad January jobs report. I believe Omicron has already impacted the lives of millions of our fellow Americans. A lot of people are unemployed. A lot of people had to stay away from work, had to stay out of work in January because of COVID or because they had to take care of someone with COVID. You know, and I know that almost everyone we knew, or at least someone we knew, had COVID, if not in the past year and a half, definitely in the past few weeks. You know this and I know this. Also, thousands of flights were cancelled. In New York City, and I live close to New York, I live in the Northeast, Broadway shows were shut down. And across New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, thousands of schools had postponed reopenings and had to switch back to virtual learning. In fact, the White House has maintained that it has the resources necessary to respond to the pandemic. But you know and I know that the release of testing kits could have and should have been rolled out a lot sooner. But at the end of the day, folks, there is no perfect solution to the pandemic. There is no perfect solution to the crisis that we are facing. We can all do the best we can to adapt as human beings, and the government, of course, is going to do the best they can. And of course, there's an additional layer of bureaucracy and incompetence at different levels in the government. So, what do you think about the White House laying down the foundation for the Omicron spike that will lead to disappointing job growth in January? And what do you think about the White House essentially warning that a surge in COVID because of Omicron in January 2022 will distort hiring because the virus actually sidelined millions of workers, millions of our fellow Americans? Do you believe that this is a temporary spike in unemployment, which we will see in the January jobs data? Or do you believe this is the start of a much more dangerous trend that could derail the American economy in the year 2022? I personally believe that this is going to be a blip in our recovery. I personally believe we'll be back on track in February, in March and April. And I think by the end of 2022, hopefully we can get back to life as we know it. We all want to get back to life as we know it. Some of us have gotten back to life as we know it, full recovery. But the American economy still has a long way to go because millions of lives have been shattered. Almost 800,000 Americans at the time I'm recording this video have lost their lives due to the pandemic. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications. I appreciate you. I work hard on this channel every single day to bring you the latest news. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. This right here is a little bit of information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you for watching once again. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Talk to you soon. Bye.